have me nearly going out of my mind. The things that you whisper.
I love more than anything in the world when someone comes up to me and they say, wow, we used your song for our wedding, or we used your song when we made our kids, or I remember loving you when I was in junior high. I never thought that that would be cool to hear, because then that would mean that I was old, but you know, you see someone who's grown in their 30s who's been listening to me since they were 13 or 14, and you realize just what the music that you've written means to people and how long they've carried it with them. And I think initially, I heard Barry Manilow say, I write the songs to make the whole world sing, and that's why I wanted to be a songwriter. In our family, it's evident that the children have the gift from a very young age. I can remember riding in the car with BJ and Nico, and they were 5 and 2, and they're harmonizing to the songs that are being played on the radio, or to the, back then it was tapes. I'd leave the studio and have a tape in the tape deck, and I'd be playing, you know, whatever record I was working on, and they're singing the parts at 5 and 2. So you say to yourself, well, let me make sure that the legacy of our family doesn't stop with me and my lineage. So you do everything you can to make sure that they have all the tools that they need to be as creative as they possibly can. So when I see them now at 21 and 18, the things that they're able to do and imagine and actually create are leap years beyond where I was at the same age. They are in all night. Thank God the studio's on the other side of the house because they don't like to play anything soft. Everything's loud in the sub, the whole house is shaking. But I would never try to stifle what they're trying to do, because every day they get better and better. The songs, the structure of the songs, everything is so perfect. I think the first jazz artists that I listened to, my parents had a very extensive record collection, all the Nat King Cole stuff. So when I was 7 or 8 years old, I wanted to be Nat. I wanted to sit at the piano like him. I wanted to play like him. My love for jazz is in my lineage because my grandfather led bands in the 30s. And before he got into the church, you know, even when he was in the church as our minister of music, you could always hear the jazz in his arrangements. Ellington and Strayhorn, first and foremost. I always look towards the people who, within a genre, could be innovators. Some people who did things for the first time. When you listen to Lush Life, you understand that these two guys were genius within that genre. Even though everyone was doing it at the time, but they set themselves apart. Next would be Miles Davis. Miles, and I'm sure everybody says this, but to where jazz was when it was evolving, and I think people had almost thought there was nowhere else to go. Here comes Miles, and changed the face of everything from decade to decade to decade, even all the way to the 80s with Tutu and with Marcus. Was pretty amazing. Then John Coltrane, Giant Steps. That one composition by itself should be a thesis for someone's doctorate. I mean, I'm sure someone has tried to, but the inner workings of that. I remember one of the first times I was with Stevie Wonder. He came into soundcheck, and his soundcheck warm-up was Giant Steps. That's when I knew he was the real thing. I knew it before that, but that just solidified it for me. There's so much music that can be learned from, and jazz being, I like to call it, and James Ingram, I'm gonna quote him, that it's God's music. Without it, I don't know, I'm not sure what music would sound like. For the first 30 minutes, I tell the beginning of the story. You know, I was born June 5th, 1969, and I taught myself to play piano. Here's the first song I taught myself to play, which is the Rocky theme, on to Mozart, on to jazz, on to church music. And then I basically used that to say, and this is how I created my body of work. And I go through all the hits that I've created over the years, and people absolutely loved that one-on-one sort of personal touch, because it's part comedy routine, part music history, part, you know, music 101, and then Brian McKnight 101. And so basically I've taken that concept and moved it into a bigger venue, and it's called the Just Me Tour, where, you know, my sons don't open the show, take success in the next act, and then I come on at the end. I come in at the beginning and tell my story, and then within the framework of that 2 hours, the two other acts weave in and out, and it's going to be I'm so excited to be able to show this to the world with these 8 people on stage at once. It's going to be pretty amazing.
It's like I'm standing 10 feet tall.
I've been really trying to figure out in this lull in music how to present my core audience of fans with the music that I created. Now, since I own all of my own content, to be able to allow them to share in that experience almost at real time. So basically, I'm working on a site now that will take all of my social media forums and put them in one place and allow my fans to subscribe to my exclusive content that I create on a daily basis. I'm really, really excited about the concept of being able to write a song today, record it tonight, mix it tonight, and have it in their email box in the morning. The first time I sang into this mic, I loved it with my inner ears. I usually have the left one half in and half out so I can hear the house and hear the mix I need to hear on stage. The sound fills the room. I don't have to work that hard. I sing hard enough as it is. If I can do anything to preserve my voice and make it seem like to the audience I'm still giving everything I possibly can, this mic gives me the best opportunity to be able to do that and still give the full clarity of my full voice at the same time without having to have it take a lot of effort from me. You want to be able to not have the technology disguise what you can't do, but to enhance what you can do and allow people to really hear that in the best way they possibly can, and this mic does that for me. I'd say to anyone who wants to be in this business, there's really only one way to have a career at this, and it's a lot of hard work and figuring out not how to be the next somebody else, but the first you, to find a unique way to tell your story the way no one else has told it. Because anybody can be famous. You want to be a star? I say go and do exactly what everybody else is doing. You can be famous right now. If you want a career, well, that's going to be a little bit harder. You want 20 or 30 years and awards and all those sorts of things, which I'm not sure everybody wants. Some people just want to be famous right now, which is absolutely possible. But for me, it's about the story, that people grow up with you and stay with you. And in order to do that, every time they see you, you have to wow them. Every time they pick up a CD of yours, they have to know that you gave everything you possibly had for them and that you're always there for them. I think that's been a recipe that's worked very well for me.